Hey all, in the next 20 minutes, we're going to show you how to optimize your ClickFunnels pages for mobile devices so you stop losing over half of your potential customers due to tiny text, broken layouts, and impossible to tap buttons. We're going to talk about multiple critical pieces to mobile optimization and how to fix it all on your ClickFunnels pages. So, we're going to go ahead and get started. This really came about because of a question as I was filling in and doing the live OFA coaching yesterday. Someone was asking about mobile optimization, and I realized this wasn't just for that person. It was really something everybody could benefit from. And also, just it was a part of the checklist that we went over last week, our funnel launch checklist. And so this week, I thought it appropriate to pick one of those things, dive deep on mobile optimization, something everyone needs no matter what type of funnel you're building. And that's what we're going to go over today. Before we get started, I want to bring on my fearless co host, Aaron. Welcome, Aaron.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me in.
Yeah, hope you're doing well today.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, that introduction was awesome. Fearless. I don't know about that, but let's go ahead and run into it. All right. So, I want to talk about mobile optimization techniques today, and there's a lot to discuss. So, first and foremost, I want to talk about understanding mobile versus desktop views and how we can look at that in the editor. So, let me go ahead and share my screen and let's get into some actionable stuff here. All right, here we go. All right, so this is the page builder, and this is where we can see both desktop and mobile views. Now you can click on that and you can toggle between the two in the top right here in my taskbar. And I can click on this little mobile device, and that's going to shift over to a mobile view. Now you can see when I shift over, elements are going to start to stack on top of each other by default. You have full control over the customization of this. So I can move elements around and change it. But watch as I go from my desktop where I can see, some elements here on the left-hand side, some stuff on the right-hand side. And then I go back to my mobile view and it starts to stack really nice and clean. So that's always going to be great when you're just building out your page. It's going to do its best to stack everything and look as good as possible. But you should always check your mobile view before publishing any funnels, your store, any pages, because it is a common mistake. A lot of people won't check that at all, and then they might have some overlapping text, or they might just have some issues with the mobile device. And as Jesse was mentioning at the top of the recording, more than half of your traffic is most likely coming to your site on a mobile device. So you just want to make sure that everything's tidied up and looking really good. Now, let's talk a little bit about how to do that. How can we do elements on mobile only or desktop only? And I'm going to pop back over to my desktop view. I can see right there in the top, there is a red rectangle and it says desktop only. So that is indicating to me that I am looking at an element that's only visually showing up on the desktop side of things. And if I go to my viewer, you'll see that it disappears. So that's exactly how I can differentiate that by the box and saying desktop only. And of course, it's not showing anymore when I view my mobile. So how would I go about maybe creating this support email in my header block on mobile? Well, if I just go into my block here and I go into my element, I'm going to go to my element settings. And of course, there's a lot of adjustments that can be made here, like your margins and your padding. And I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. But really what I want to shift attention to is going to be down here at the bottom. We can see visibility. This is showing me where this specific element is showing on my website or my store or my funnel. So I can see if I click on all, that red box that says desktop only, that's going to disappear because now this is displaying whether it's desktop or mobile. If I click on the desktop, of course, it's going to go back to what we had it as initially. And then if I click on mobile only, it's going to take it away from the desktop view and put it on the mobile view because, again, it's only on a mobile device now. You can also hide on all devices just so you're aware. Now, what I want is I want one that shows on my desktop that looks nice and clean, exactly how it was, but I want one on my mobile as well that looks good. Now, first and foremost, let's just click all, and I'm going to save this. And let's see what happens. Let's see how it looks on mobile. It's good, it's there, but it's shifted to the right. And that's exactly why we're putting it on desktop only. So let me go ahead and go back in to this block. I'm going to go back into the same element in my settings. I'm just going to put that back on desktop, just how we had it before. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the same element. And instead of going to my settings here, I'm going to clone the element. That way I have two now. And so if I go into my second one and go into settings, I can toggle now that to be mobile only. So now I have a desktop only module and a mobile only module of the same exact thing, but of course, one is showing on each device. Now, the last thing I want to adjust there, which is pretty simple, I want to make sure this is nice and centered. So I'll just go into my settings. And if I scroll down a bit, I'll find this align section. And you can see it's currently aligned on the right because we copied the desktop element. I'll just shift that over to the center, and that looks great. So let me go ahead and save that up. And just like that, I have created an element that is only viewable on mobile. So that's how you go about creating elements on whichever viewable device you want to showcase. All right, let's move on to the next section, which is margins and padding. A lot of people get these, they don't really understand or know how to differentiate margins and padding. The easiest way to think about this is margins are all of the space outside of the element. So you can push it into other elements. You can basically just move it around the area. Padding is going to be adjusting anything inside of your element. So anything within this orange box that I'm adjusting, I'll squeeze things together, and I'll just give you a visualization of what I'm talking about here. So let me go ahead and just click on this headline text. And here's my margin. So I was saying it's everything outside of the element. And we can see I'm moving this element within the page. So I can actually overlap it if I wanted to, but I can create a ton of margin. And then you'll see when I go and adjust my padding, it's adjusting inside the box, right? So I can squeeze it down, but I can also just give a little bit of padding if I wanted to on the top and bottom. And then also you can do your left and right margins, but of course that's going to make it look weird. So let's just keep it right there. I think 6 is nice. So that is how you adjust your margins and your padding in general. Let's see. Now, one thing I want to talk about is going to be text sizing. So of course, this is a headline, but how do I adjust this for mobile only, right? If I go back to my desktop, you can see it gets way bigger, and now it's much smaller. I'm going to go into my settings here. I can have all my typography options right here. So I can adjust it very quickly within my style. I can make this a little smaller. I can make it medium or even very small. I want that to be XL. If I want to adjust just this single text, I can override this and I can make it much bigger, right? And again, we're here on our mobile only because I can see the little cell phone logo there. So I'm adjusting just for mobile in this instance. But I don't want to change anything. I'm just going to go ahead and reset it. Now, one more thing I want to mention here on mobile text is if I go into my style guide, and be very careful when you come in here, because if you change anything in your style guide, it's going to apply everywhere. So always make sure of that. But there's one thing I really want to bring attention to, and that's going to be the mobile size toggle here. If you toggle this on, you'll see that it automatically scales and handles font sizes for smaller screens. So this is really important, especially if you're optimizing for mobile. You want to make sure that it's just going to change the size of the text so that it's readable and legible from your desktop view to your mobile view. All right, now let me go ahead and back out of that. And then one last thing I want to touch on right here is going to be imagery. So if I go into my settings of an image, I'm going to adjust my graphic sizing. And the best way to go about this is if I see right here under my size and positioning, I can adjust the width, right? So I can squeeze that down. And then if I go back over to my desktop view, you can see that nothing changed there, right? If I come back, it's adjusted because I'm adjusting again for mobile only. Now, one last thing I want to show here is if I click on this little percentage, I can change this to pixels. This is okay, but I'd rather it be percentage because this is telling me I can scale it to a specific percent. And it's never going to be messed up when I go back from desktop to mobile. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. Let me hit save. All right, here. So if I go into my settings here, I can adjust this down. So I'm basically just changing the percentage within this specific element. So you can see this element is covering this specific box. I can't really go larger than that, but I could if I changed that to my pixels. Again, I want everything to be comparable from desktop to mobile. So I want to stay in that percentage world there. I go back to my mobile, I change it, I'm at 100. I can adjust that if necessary, but I'll keep it at 100. Okay, so that is, in essence, just a little bit of education on mobile optimization and little tips and tricks that you want to do when adjusting your text, your visuals on your photography, or just imagery. And now I want to go ahead and toss it over to Jessie. She's going to talk a little bit about flex containers in mobile optimization.
Yeah, for sure. That was really great, Aaron.
Yeah.
I am going to pull my screen up here. There we go. All right. So I did want to mention the flex containers just because one of the coolest things that I love about the flex containers in ClickFunnels is the switchbacks, right? Because on desktop, people like to design this way where maybe the graphic and the text, and then on the next one you switch it, and the next one you switch it, just like this. Those are called switchbacks. And oftentimes, this is one of the reasons why when I used to design, we used to have certain graphics desktop only and certain as mobile only, because when you go to mobile view, it just doesn't look great. So I'm going to head over to mobile view real quick. And the first thing I notice here is this doesn't look great with these next to each other. And that's another great thing about this mobile optimization stuff. When I go into the flex container settings, I can actually choose for the direction to go up and down, right? So now that looks a lot better. And then I'm going to choose this one to same thing, go up and down, and then this one to also go up and down. But this is what I was talking about. In the switchbacks, I've got graphic text, text graphic, graphic text, and that doesn't look great. And what I love about mobile optimization for these flex containers is I can actually change the direction to go bottom up. So now when I look at my desktop, even though it's switching on mobile, now I have it so that I always have graphic on top of the text. And then, of course, since I just threw this together, I would listen to everything Aaron just said and work on my padding and my margins and all these things, because on mobile, chances are I don't want this much space, and I would make it go wider so it showed more, and then knowing that the desktop doesn't change as I change my mobile settings, right? So thank you for that, Aaron. But I just wanted to show that one just because I've always thought that was pretty cool about those switchbacks, being able to do that so easily just with mobile optimization.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that more or less wraps up our mobile optimization training or presentation for today. Jessie, do you have anything else that you want to touch on before we wrap up?
No, just that, like I started, I've seen some sources say 60%. I've seen up to 73, 75% potentially of your traffic is coming from mobile devices, especially in the digital age we are, where people have their phones everywhere. So ignoring mobile is only going to hurt you, right? Because that's all that traffic and potential customers or leads that you're just losing because they hit the page. And if they have this much white space, they can't even see your stuff because it hasn't been optimized. A lot of people will often even tell you that maybe you should design for mobile first and then design for desktop, which I know is hard to do when you're designing pages, but if nothing else, mobile is definitely the one you need to pay attention to. Otherwise, you're just letting those leads and those sales just flow right away. It's a big leak that you want to plug up that hole. So make sure it's something you do. The only other thing I'd say is that we are completely open to the things that you guys want to learn about. So drop us, even afterwards, drop us comments down below, just letting us know what you want to learn about next. We are here to serve. Like I said, today's inspiration came from a conversation I had during a coaching call yesterday. So we are always open to hear from you all and exactly what you'd like to learn how to do in ClickFunnels.
Absolutely. All right. So, well, we'll be here same time next week, right? So conducting another training session. So thanks everyone for attending, of course. And I would just want to say thanks. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.